Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a hidden market mechanic that honestly catches almost every new trader completely off guard. We're talking about crypto slippage. We're going to break down exactly what it is, why it happens, and most importantly, how you can take control of it.
So picture this. You're placing a trade, and you expect to buy in at exactly $60,000. You click the button. A few seconds go by, the order fills, but you look at your receipt and it says $60,150. Now your very first thought might be, whoa, did I just get scammed? Or maybe you think the exchange glitched out. But that frustrating gap between placing your trade and the final fill, it's neither a scam nor a glitch. It is a completely normal underlying market mechanic called slippage. And if you don't understand it, it can quietly just eat away at your money on literally every single trade.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. What is slippage? 2. Why it happens. 3. Positive versus negative. 4. Slippage tolerance. 5. Reducing slippage. And 6. Slippage versus volatility.
Starting with Section 1. What is slippage?
Crypto slippage is, well, it's simply the difference between the price you expected when you placed a trade and the actual execution price. That's basically the whole shebang. It is just that gap between expectation and reality during those crucial milliseconds it takes for your order to actually process.
To put that into perspective and make it totally concrete, let's look at an example with Ethereum. Let's say you're trying to buy some ETH at exactly $3,000 flat. But right between the exact moment you click buy and the moment your order actually makes it into the system and fills, the price moves. Because of that, your order ends up executing at $3,030 instead. That $30 gap? That right there is your slippage. And this happens simply because crypto markets move incredibly fast, right? Prices can shift in mere seconds, and your digital order has to actually travel through the system before it gets filled.
Which brings us to Section 2, why it happens.
There are 5 primary culprits we need to talk about here. First, high volatility. This naturally stretches the gap between placing and filling an order. Second is low liquidity, meaning there just aren't enough buyers and sellers at your exact expected price, which forces the exchange to use worse prices to finish the transaction. Then you've got trade size. Massive orders will just chew right through thin order books. Fourth, fast-moving markets reacting to, say, breaking news or sudden token launches. And finally, number 5, trading on decentralized exchanges or DEXs, where trading against small liquidity pools actually mathematically alters your final price based on the pool's ratio.
All right, moving to Section 3, positive versus negative slippage.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that it's not all bad news. Negative slippage is definitely what everyone fears, right? The market moves against you and you pay more than you intended. But positive slippage exists too. Imagine placing a buy order at $60,000 and right as it executes, the price drops. Your order might actually fill at $59,950 instead. So the market moved in your favor, giving you a much better, cheaper entry than you even expected. The goal here isn't to somehow eliminate slippage completely, which, let's be real, is basically impossible, but rather to manage your exposure to the negative side.
Let's look at how to do that in Section 4, slippage tolerance.
If you trade on decentralized exchanges, you actually have access to a specific UI setting called slippage tolerance. Think of this as your personal safety net. It's defined as your maximum acceptable price movement before a trade just automatically cancels itself. Basically, you're drawing a firm boundary in the sand. You're telling the exchange, hey, fill this order, but if the price moves more than this specific amount against me while it's executing, just fail the trade instead.
So what does this actually look like in practice? Where should you set that boundary? Well, for major coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum, the recommended sweet spot is right between 0.5% and 2%. Setting it in this range is absolutely crucial. If you set it too low, normal little price wiggles will just constantly fail your trades. But set it too high, and you risk wildly overpaying when the market spikes.
On to Section 5, reducing slippage.
So how do we practically minimize these hidden costs? First, rely on limit orders whenever you possibly can. A limit order only fills at your set price or better, which completely eliminates negative slippage surprises. You'll also want to stick to high-liquidity major assets, simply because they have far less slippage than low-volume tokens. Also, avoid trading during extreme news-driven volatility windows. If you happen to be moving large amounts of capital, split your orders up into smaller chunks so you don't accidentally push the price against yourself. And finally, always set a realistic tolerance and be incredibly cautious with low-volume meme coins, where slippage can be, frankly,
Absolutely extreme. On the flip side, here are a few common beginner mistakes you absolutely must avoid. First off, do not set unreasonably high tolerance settings just to force a stubborn trade through. Actually, scammers specifically rely on careless traders using high tolerance settings to literally drain value out of their wallets during token swaps. It's a real danger. Also, never ignore a token's trading volume. Avoid placing huge market orders without checking the order book first, and whatever you do, never disregard the overall market volatility of the day.
Next up, Section 6, Slippage versus Volatility. So, the crucial point here is understanding the distinction between these two because people get them mixed up all the time. Volatility equals market-wide movement. It is the macro environment of the asset swinging up and down. Slippage, on the other hand, is your individual trade's execution gap. Yes, for sure, they are deeply connected. High overall market volatility usually causes more individual slippage, but they are distinct concepts. Knowing the difference, understanding that one is the overall environment and the other is your personal transaction cost really gives you a much sharper trading edge.
All right, let's do a rapid, confident recap of everything we covered in today's explainer. Slippage is simply that execution gap between the price you want and the price you actually get. It is absolutely not always a loss. Remember, sometimes a sudden drop gives you positive slippage and a way cheaper entry. And most importantly, it can be strictly managed with proper slippage tolerance settings and smart trading habits, like using limit orders. Which leaves us with one final, kind of provocative question for you to chew on. Will you adjust your slippage tolerance before your next trade? Hopefully, after today's explainer, you feel fully equipped to handle real-world trading costs without any nasty surprises. Thank you so much for joining us. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to subscribe because our next explainer is going to be a deep dive into crypto market cap. We'll show you how to properly evaluate a project's true size before you put any money on the line. See you then.